Hi everyone in English 2323, it's Dr. E and I'm here with your week 14 instructional video. That's pretty impressive. We've made it to week 14. You have so much work behind you. So that's, take a moment to celebrate all that you've done so far and know that we are just a handful of weeks away from finishing out the course, finishing out the semester, which is both good news, right? Because the end is in sight, but also it can be a little nerve-wracking because that means that you likely have final exams and big things going on in other courses. So I want to take a few moments before we get into this week's module to visit our overall course schedule, just because so much of academia and academic work is kind of going week to week, right? Okay, what do we have in this course this week? What do I have to do in terms of reading, in terms of assignments? But I feel like we're at a point in the semester where it's helpful to look ahead a little bit just to start making plans, right? So if we look at our course schedule, which is always available in D2L, we're in week 14, and we have some pretty major assignments that are coming up in week 15 and 16, right? So not this week, but next week our journal collection is due, right? And that's a pretty hefty grade. And then the following week is our multimedia project, which is another hefty grade. And I say this not to stress you out at all, because again, you've done a majority of the work for the journal collection. It's just a matter of, going back in, revising, editing, adding a little bit here and there. But I want you to be aware that the next few weeks, at least for our course, we have some pretty big grades, and you want to get the best possible grades on these to keep your grade up. Or if some of you feel like you flagged a little bit and you've missed some assignments here or there, this is a really big opportunity to turn your grade around for the better, because there are so many points related to these assignments. If you hit all those guidelines and expectations, then you'll get a good grade, right? But the opposite is also true, right? If you fail to review the videos and the guidelines and expectations for these major assignments and submit something that is, just below average or below the expectations, then that can affect your grade negatively, right? Because these are large grades. So just want you to keep this in mind. But again, you've done a majority of the work for the journal, and we're actually going to do a little bit of the work for our multimedia project this week. So we'll have some of that work under our belt already. And then after week 15 and 16, then that's finals. And you'll notice we don't really have anything major going on in terms of grades for finals, and that's very intentional, because we are taking these 2 weeks before to get those major assignments out of the way, because I want you to be able to focus your attention on other classes. We will have wrapped things up. This is time for me to kind of grade and close out everything, and time for you to focus on those courses where you may have like final exams and things of that nature. Okay, so that is looking at the weeks ahead. Again, journal collection is not due this week, and your multimedia project is not due this week. I'm going to come back to this. Okay, so we're going to jump to the content area, and before we actually hit on the module for week 14, I want to jump around just a little bit, because I think there's some helpful areas that we don't want to miss out on. So I'm actually going to go to the syllabus, schedule, and rubrics section, because just a friendly reminder that all the materials for the course are here for you, right? So we have the syllabus and schedule, but anything related to the journal is going to be right here. So we have the portfolio guidelines, right? That's the collection, essentially, the instructional video. And so here's the journal collection video, and then so one is a link and the other is, like you can open the video and view it within D2L. I'll organize these a bit more clearly, because I know it can be like journal assignment video, but then there's a collection instructional video. I'll put these together in a more functional way, right? But you have access to the handouts and to the templates and all of that good stuff right here, if you ever need to review those. I'm going to scroll back up because I also want to visit the student success module. So if you click on that, there's always all of this information that can be really helpful in terms of being successful, academic support, all that good stuff. But there's also information about those bonus events or workshops. And so if you scroll down, you'll see a link that is events and workshops. If you open that, It has just a general list of videos and workshops that are asynchronous that you can attend whenever you'd like. It's on your time. They're not live. Sorry, it's taking forever. Once that opens, okay, you'll see a list of different kinds of TED Talks you can look at. There are also workshops that are more related to being a successful student. So there's one of our wonderful advisors, Casey Timmy, has Talk with Timmy. It's job strategies that she shared in a YouTube video. And then we also have just like self-care and building community, time management and motivation, so these are different kinds of workshops to help you as a student in general. So you can attend, I'm air quoting, attend these options or these workshops and do kind of a quick write-up in a worksheet that I have prepared for you. You can submit up to 3 worksheets, one for each, and get up to 15 potential bonus points. So you can either do that by if you visit the bonus events or workshops area, we just kind of back out from where we were. Here's the assignment link, or to find it in a different way, you just go up to course activities, and in the assignments area, you'll see the folder, just like all your other assignment folders. Okay, so if you scroll down, you'll see bonus events, workshops, and again, it's just about submitting a worksheet for each of those, and you can earn up to 5 points per submission if everything is completed and thorough and edited and all that good stuff, so you can click here. This is only going to be available until May 10th. Because at that point we are definitely winding down the course. I am hitting on this idea again this week because we're at a kind of juncture, right? We're heading into a couple of hefty weeks. So if you need to make time in your schedule to complete 1 or 2 of these, then definitely do so before the deadline, because I don't want you finishing out the course and getting something like an 89.5 and wishing that you had done something, right? Wishing you had done some sort of bonus credit, because I don't round up. Okay, so this is just, again, one of those, I'm going to be really sad at the end of the semester if you email and say, oh, I really need this grade to transfer, or I really need this grade to whatever the case may be. I'm going to be incredibly sympathetic and incredibly heartbroken for you, but then I'm also going to say, but we had these opportunities, so please just don't put me in that position. Of course, don't put yourself in that position, but I don't want to be the bad person, so do this. Okay, let's go to the content area and go to our week 14 module to see what is on our specific agenda for this week. We've looked ahead, but not at our specific week. So you're going to read, you're actually first go ahead and go back to Adichie's TED Talk, Chimamanda Adichie's TED Talk that we kind of started our semester with, The Danger of a Single Story. Not only because it's great and it's worth a rewatch, right? Especially because we are into the 20th and 21st centuries when it comes to British literature. And she is living and growing up in a space that is, post-colonization by England and Great Britain. So she's speaking of those kinds of experiences, but then you're also going to read her biography and short story called Checking Out. And my computer is thinking. Anyhow, so you're watching the instructional video. Go ahead and watch the multimedia project video, complete the multimedia project plan. I cannot stress this enough, and it's going every semester somebody tries to complete the multimedia project this week. Please don't do the project. This week is just about the plan, and I'll get more into that in just a second. You also have your participation quiz, which is due on Sunday, okay? So what I'd like you to do is review the guidelines for the journal collection and the multimedia project video, which I'll put right here so that you can take a look at that in preparation for completing the multimedia project plan. So I'm going to click on this link. And the purpose of this is just to kind of get your ideas out, start making some decisions, and start really kind of planning your time. Especially because the project is an investment, right? I don't want anybody starting and getting deep into a project to only find out that then, it's not actually meeting the guidelines or expectations. So this is a way for me to offer that kind of feedback. 9 times out of 10, folks are moving in the right direction. They have the guidelines in mind. I can see that from their plan. But then there's that handful of students where they may have a great idea, but maybe they haven't explained it well enough in the plan. So I just have a few kind of questions that push for a little bit of direction and explanation. Or there might even be a handful of students who have missed the mark in terms of guidelines and expectations. So I don't want you to invest a bunch into something and then have to redo it. Right? So this helps with that, and it pushes you to get some of the writing and research done. It pushes you to, again, make some decisions, think about a timeline. There is a place for you to draft the actual paragraph, the actual research-based paragraph that's required in the project. So this will all make sense with the video, right? The instructional video. But you can review the video here, the guidelines here. And then the plan looks very similar to other things that we've worked on in the course. I think I have an option open. Give me 1 second. Yeah. Okay. So this is what the plan looks like. So what author, text, anything from the course has inspired your project? So do you want to think of Aditye's video and her short story? Has that inspired you in some way? Has going back to Jekyll and Hyde, is that going to inspire a piece of artwork, or do you want to bake something? Going back to Catherine Mansfield, Garden Party, do you want to create a video playing on some of the themes there? What text or author from the course is kind of leading to you wanting to do something, and why? And I want you to think about the fact that the answers below, so all of these, will essentially become the basis for your first paragraph. Okay, so you're kind of planning out some of this. So I want you to describe your project format. So what media form are you choosing? Do you want to make a video? Do you want to make an informational PowerPoint, poetry, story? I mean, once you watch the video, you'll see that the sky is the limit. You can do anything as long as it's something that you can essentially post to D2L, right? Also describe what will be in the, so if you're doing an informational PowerPoint, like what's it about? If you're doing a video, give us a little bit of context here to understand what it is that you have in mind. How will you show effort? This is a really big one, and you'll see this from the video. I do not expect perfection. If you want to create a video based on Catherine Mansfield's short story, awesome. Do I expect it to be, ready for Hollywood? No. Having a video in and of itself takes so much time and effort and editing, but I don't expect the finished product to be, something that you would submit to a film festival. The effort is shown and clear in a video. However, most other projects need to show effort, actually in a visible way. So if you are not an artist, but you want to try your hand at painting something related to the speckled band, right? Take pictures along the way of your efforts, especially because if we get to the final piece of artwork you've done, it may not be amazing because you're not an artist. You're just trying something new. But showing your effort along the way really gives us an idea of the time you put into it, right? So put those pictures together in a PowerPoint. And PowerPoint is just that's my go-to for most projects in terms of showing effort is PowerPoint, because it's easy to upload images. It's easy to upload video if you want to do video along the way of like cooking process, whatever it is you want. But you need to show effort, because that's essentially where the grade is coming in. I am not grading you on how awesome your finished product is, because you may not be an artist. I'm grading you on the effort. What is your timeline? And then this is a space for the complete draft of your second paragraph, which is research-based. So this is not a place to copy and paste quotes. This is for an actual full-on paragraph. Can't emphasize that enough. Okay. So that's your project plan. Your project is not due this week. And this is just a plan. If you change your mind down the road for what you'd like to do, you can change your mind as long as you're meeting those guidelines, and you don't need to resubmit another plan. Okay, you also have your quiz, which is based on all the instructions and videos and all that good stuff. So good luck this week and let me know what you need. We are almost at the finish line, y'all.